Let's review for the upcoming quiz on inequalities. This first question asks us to explore inequalities with a single variable. So our objective is to find the solution, and then we're going to have to sketch this graph of the solution. So when we're taking a look at it, I know that the first thing that we're going to need to do is isolate the variable. We're going to want to get n's by themselves. So let's add 5n to one side, and if we add it to one side, we of course have got to add it to the other. And I know that 5n plus 1n, right, is going to give us 6n, and then we simply drop down minus 6 is less than or equal to, now we're just left with 12. Now let's add 6 to one side, and you're going to have to add it to the other. And we've got 6n is less than or equal to 18. We're not done yet. I know that we need to divide both sides by 6 so that the 6's cancel out, right? So 6 divided by 6 is 1, and we're left with simply n is less than or equal to what? 18 divided by 6 is going to give us 3. Tremendous. And so this is our answer, but we've still got to graph it. What does that look like? Well, I know a couple things. I know that because this says less than or equal to, I know that n is going to be smaller than 3. But what I also know is that this symbol right here indicates that the circle is going to be closed or shaded. So let's, what we can do is simply write 3. If you want to write 2 and 4, you can do that as well. And I'm going to draw a circle. And I know that n is less than 3, right? So what's the number that's less than 3? It's going to be 2 or 1 or so on and so forth. And so I'm going to shade this way. And then again, because this says it's less than or equal to, the circle is going to be shaded in. And this, my friends, is the answer. Let's take a look at another problem that deals with inequalities with a single variable. And like before, we're going to need to isolate the variable. In this case, it's n, and I can see that there are 3 n's. And I know that 8n minus 5n, of course, is going to give us 3n. And I'll just simply carry everything down. So it's 3n plus 16 is greater than n. And then I see it says negative 7 plus 7. Negative 7 plus 7 is 0, so it cancels out. So we're good right there. I also know that we're going to need to shift this n onto the left side. And to do that, I'm going to subtract n, because I know that if we do it to one side, we've got to do it to the other. And subtracting n is the same thing as like subtracting 1n. So 3 minus 1n is going to give us 2n. And I know that if we're going to subtract 16 from one side, we've got to subtract it from the other. And we're doing that, of course, because we want to isolate n. And so we've got to get rid of 16 on this side. We're going to bring it over here. And so we're left with 2n is greater than negative 16. All right, what happens next? Let's divide both sides by 2. And when we do that, n is greater than negative 8. All right, so how do we graph that? What does this look like? Well, I know that the number n, whatever it is, it's going to be bigger than negative 8. So I'm going to simply write negative 8. And I also know that this symbol is greater than. It's not greater than or equal to. And because it's simply greater than, I'm going to draw a circle, and I'm going to leave it open or empty or unshaded. And then we're going to shade to the right because n is greater than negative 8, right? And you do this, you're going to get perfect score on your quiz. This is the answer. Let's take a look at compound inequalities with one variable. Again, we're going to have to find the solution, and then we're going to have to sketch this. All right, and let's zoom in. I know that this word, or, is crucial because it means that we're going to be solving these separately. So we're going to be solving this inequality first, and then we're going to be solving the second, and then we're going to be graphing it on the same line. All right, so it's negative 5 plus 2p is greater than 7. What do? Always we want to isolate p, of course, and to do that, let's add 5 to one side, and then of course to the other. So we've got 2p is greater than 7 plus 5 is 12. We know that we then have to divide both sides by 2, so that p is greater than 6. All right, tremendous. Let's take a look at this this one on the right side. 9p minus 2 is less than 16. All right, so we need to isolate p. Let's add 2 to the left side and to the right so that the 2's, of course, cancel out. 9p is less than 16 plus 2 is 18, and then let's divide both sides by 9. All right, p is less than 18 divided by 9, of course, is 2. All right, so we just figured out that p is greater than 6 and p is less than 2. How exactly do we sketch this? What does that look like? We're going to have to draw a line, and we're going to put it in sequential order. We're going to put the smaller number on the left side, so we'll put 2 here, and we'll put 6 right there. I know that because this is there's no or equal to sign, right? So this is greater than, this is simply less than, that the circles are going to be open or unshaded or empty. And when we're looking at this, it says p is greater than 6, right? P is bigger than 6. So what we're going to do is we're going to shade this way. All right. And I can see that on the other side, p is also less than 2. So we're going to be shading to the left because it's a number, p, whatever the number is, it's going to be less than 2. So maybe it's 1 or 0 or negative a million. Whatever it is, it's to the left. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the answer. So here we have another compound inequality with one variable. We're going to have to find the solution and then sketch it. And what do I know? I know that this problem has 2 parts. I recognize that what we're going to have to do is first find the value of n for this left side, basically everything that's to the left of this sign right here. And then we're going to split it up on the right side as well. What we're going to need to do is solve for n with all this information that's to the right of this sign. So it looks a little bit like this. So let's start with the left side. So I'm going to rewrite it. So it's going to be 30 is less than or equal to negative 10n plus 10. And let's isolate for the variable. So we're going to subtract 10 from both sides. And we've got now 20 is less than or equal to negative 10n. And I know that because, it's an ugly n. All right. I know that because we have a negative 10n, we're going to have to divide both sides by negative 10. And you guys, remember that when you divide by a negative, it flips the sign. So now all of a sudden, 20 divided by negative 10 is going to give us negative 2. We're flipping the sign is greater than n. And I know that we can rewrite that like negative 2 is greater than or equal to n, or n is less than or equal to negative 2, right? These are the same things. All right, so we've solved the first half of this problem. Let's take a look at the right side, and I'm going to rewrite it like negative 10n plus 10 is less than 110. All right, so let's subtract 10 from one side. We're going to subtract it from the other, and we've got negative 10n is less than 100. We're going to divide both sides by negative 10. And what are we left with? N, the sign flips because we're dividing by a negative, is n is greater than negative 10. Beautiful. Okay, so what happens now? We've got to graph this. And I know that negative 2 is bigger than negative 10, right? Negative 10 is smaller, so I'm going to put negative 10 to the left. And I can see that negative 10 is, it's an open, let's see, let's pull this up. It's an open circle. I can see that negative 2, because it says n is less than or equal to negative 2, it's going to be shaded or closed. Okay, and then what else do I know? It says that this is a compound inequality, so n is less than negative 2. So we're going to be shading to the left. Okay, and I can also see that it says that n is greater than negative 10, so we're going to be shading to the right. So the solution is anywhere in between these two numbers. So maybe it's negative 5, negative 7, negative 12. It's falling somewhere in here. So together, let's graph the system of linear inequalities with 2 variables. So we're going to have to graph it on the same grid. We're going to have to locate the solution set and then state a coordinate within that solution set. Let's make our coordinate plane a little bit bigger. And I can see that we've got 2 linear inequalities. The first is y is greater than or equal to negative 6x plus 3. How do we graph this? Well, I know a few things that we're going to have to first find the y-intercept. It is, of course, positive 3. So I'm going to jump up 1, 2, 3, and that's going to be our first dot. I also know that our slope is -6 or -6 over 1. So let's jump down 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's -6, right? And then 1 to the right. And I know that it's going to look a little bit like this. I can see that we can go the opposite way. We can go up 6 and then to the left 1. And that because it's y is greater than or equal to, that's going to be a solid line. All right, beautiful. What's our other linear inequality? I can see that it's y is less than or equal to -3. I'll write that right here. Y is less than or equal to -3. This is going to be a horizontal line, and it's going to go all the way across. And I know that because the value of y right here is -3. Here's -3. The value of y here is -3. This is a horizontal line. We've got to figure out now which way are we shading. So when we look at this top one, y is greater than -6x plus 3. So if y is greater than it, if it's bigger than that, we're going to be shading to the right, where the numbers go up. And what about our blue linear equality? It says y is less than or equal to -3. If y is less than -3 or equal to it, it's going to be smaller, so we're going to be shading down. And the solution is where it overlaps. This is where it overlaps. We'll write an S right there. And it says that we need to find a coordinate, stated coordinate. So what would be in here? Let's see. If we jump to the right, +5, and then we go down -6, right? So right there, for example, is a coordinate that's in it. So I might write, for example, 5, comma, -6. That's a coordinate in the solution set. All right, let's do one more where we're graphing a system of linear equalities with two variables. All right, so here are problems, and I can see that it says y is greater than 1/3 x plus 1, and so I'm going to write that one more time. So y is greater than 1/3 x plus 1. I can see that 1, of course, is our y-intercept. So we'll start right there. Our slope is 1/3 x. So what we're going to do is we're going to rise over 1, right? So it's going to be up 1, to the right 3. Let's put a little dot right there. All right, it's going to be up 1, to the right 3. Or down 1, to the left 3. If we started at the y-intercept, down 1 to the left 3. And this is a straight line. All right, and what we'll do is we'll shade in a second. Let's take a look at the next one. I can see that it's x is less than or equal to +3. So what does that look like? Anytime x is equal to a number or less than or greater than a number, it's always going to be vertical. In this case, I can see that it's going to be a straight line at 3, and I know that the x value anywhere along this line is going to be +3, right? So so here it's 3, 8. Here it's 3, -4. Let's figure out now which way we are shading. So here it says x is less than or equal to 3. If it's less than 3, then it's smaller than 3. We're going to be shading to the left, right? Because right, 2 is less than 3, 1 is less than 3, -8 is less than 3. And let's take a look at the other one. So it says y is greater than 1/3 x plus 1. If y is greater than it, then it's bigger. Then we're going to be shading up. Like that. All right. And then so the solution set is where precisely it's going to be right there. Put an S right there. And what's a coordinate in here? 1, 1, for example, is a coordinate, as is -3, 1 or -3, 7. All right, tremendous. Let's analyze this word problem involving systems of linear inequalities. It says the price of a bagel is $1 and the price of a donut is $2. You can spend at most $8 on breakfast for you and your friends. So if we're spending at most $8, that means we're spending $8 or less, right? So less than or equal to $8. We're going to come back to that when we write our inequality. We have to buy at least 5 items. So that's either 5 donuts or bagels. And it says, let x be the number of bagels and y be the number of donuts. All right, so let's start off with writing 2 separate inequalities. So what's the first inequality? Well, the price of a bagel is $1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write 1 times what? If it says let x be the number of bagels, so it's going to be 1x, or simply x, plus what? A donut is $2, so I'm going to write 2y. And then I remember reading a moment ago, it says at most $8. So we're going to want to spend less than or equal to $8. So I'm going to write less than or equal to $8. So we could spend $8. Ideally, we're going to spend a little bit less. What's the other inequality? We've got to buy at least 5 items. And what are we buying? We're buying bagels and we're buying donuts. And so bagels are x and donuts are y. And we're buying at least 5 items, right? So we want to buy more than 5. 5 or more. All right, so here are 2 inequalities, right? So bagels plus donuts, it's got to be equal to 5 or greater than 5. I think we're having, what is it, breakfast with a friend. Your friend's pretty hungry. Let's see how we can maximize this. All right, so let's figure out how we can get the most bang for our buck. The first thing that we're going to need to do now is graph this. How do we graph this? What we're going to need to do is we're going to have to isolate for y. So I'm going to rewrite this like, we'll just write it x plus 2y is less than or equal to 8. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract x from one side. If we subtract it from one side, we've got to subtract it from the other. So now we've got 2y is less than or equal to negative x, or negative 1 over 1x, right? That's the slope, plus 8. We're not done, because what we need to do is we need to isolate y, and to do that we need to divide 2y by 2, as we are the other terms in this inequality. And then we remember that, of course, this cancels out, and we're left with simply y is less than or equal to, what's 1 divided by 2, or negative 1 divided by 2? It's going to be negative 1/2 x plus 4. Great, and so this is the first inequality that we're going to graph. Y is less than or equal to negative 1/2 x plus 4. Let's take a look at the other one. Again, we're going to have to isolate y, and I know that it's x plus y is greater than or equal to 5. Bagels plus donuts is greater than or equal to 5. Let's subtract x from one side. Let's subtract it from the other. And then we've got y is greater than or equal to negative x, or negative 1 over 1, plus 5. All right. So now we've got our 2 inequalities, and we're going to have to graph this. All right. So let's grab our grid, and I'll put that right. Yeah, that works. Can you guys see that okay? All right. So let's start with the first one. So I know that it says that x are bagels and y are donuts. So let's keep that in mind as we're graphing this, and we'll start right here. So what is the y-intercept? The y-intercept is plus 4. So I'm going to start right here, plus 4. And then we're going to go down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. Down 1 over 2. Beautiful. Can we shift that up a little bit? Amazing. And is this a straight line? It sure is. And I know that's not perfect, but you guys can see it okay. And let's take a look at the other one. And so it's negative x plus 5. So I can see that 5 is the y-intercept. So I'm going to start right here. And the slope is negative x, or negative 1 over 1. So we're going to be going down 1 over 1, down 1 to the right 1, down 1 to the right 1. And it's going to look a little bit like this. Okay. This again is also a straight line. And I'm doing my best. You guys are going to do your best in the quiz as well. And we'll leave it right there. What do I know? I know that when we're taking a look at this red inequality, y is less than negative 1/2 x plus 4, we're going to be shading down. And here, what does it say? Y is greater than negative x plus 5. We're going to be shading up. So the red is going to be shading down. The blue is going to be shading up. So it's going to look like this. Red is shading down. Blue is going to be shading up. So what does that mean? All right. This is the solution set. And how can we interpret this? What exactly does this mean? Well, we remember a moment ago, we said what? We said that x is bagels. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write bagels right here. Bagels. And here I'll just put D for donuts. And so what does this mean? This means that right here, this falls within the solution set. So you're buying breakfast for you and your buddy, right? Well, we can buy 5 bagels for $1 each, right? So we're going to spend $5 on bagels, but we're not going to be buying any donuts, right? 0 donuts. So that would be $5. We're buying at least 5 items, five items or more, and spending less than $8. Likewise here, 6 bagels, 0 donuts. 7 bagels for $7, 0 donuts. Here we can buy 8 bagels for $8, but 0 donuts. But let's go up a little. Let's go up one right here. So here we're gonna buy 6 bagels, and if we're right here, 1 donut, because we're looking at we're sort of following it across, and we remember that donuts are $2. So for example, if this is what we're gonna be using as our solution, we know that 6 bagels is what, $6. We know that a donut is $2 each, and so that equals $8. And so that fits. That sort of satisfies what we're looking for, right? At least 5 items for $8 or less. Let's take a look at another one. Let's take a look at right here. Then I'll put a little dot right here. All right, so how many bagels right here? 4 bagels. Okay, how much each? $1 each. That's $4. And what about donuts? This is going to be 2 donuts. I know this because this is on the y-axis. 2 donuts for $2 each. That's going to be $4. So $4 worth of donuts, $4 worth of bagels for a total of 6 items, which fits that criteria. So what we could do, for example, is if we have to state a coordinate, we could do 4, 2. So that's another solution. What's another solution? Right here, 5 bagels, 1 donut, right? And so that would be how much? $7. You got $1 left over, you could buy some coffee. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that helped you out. Let me know if you have any questions. Good luck.